I put the agenda in the chat. It is a link. It's there if anybody needs it. I'm also going to drop a link as people are getting into the doodle poll that's out. A few of you have written and said you're not able to attend and didn't participate in the doodle poll because you're not able to, and that's fine. But if you haven't yet, we do have on the agenda to pick a time for our visit to Warren Wilson. So if you haven't had a chance to do that yet, it'd be good to do it before we get to that agenda item. All right, it's starting to look like we have critical mass here. So I'll drop the agenda in the chat one more time for anybody wasn't on when I put it in. There you go. Some new members, welcome. Go through a more formal round of introductions and give folks a chance to tell a little bit about themselves. But I am very excited to be kicking off another year on the Blue Horizons Community Council. I think we are well positioned to really take action this year. We've done a lot of strategic planning, we've done a lot of group thinking, and now it's time to get some stuff done. So we're going to spend some time visioning that a little bit. I want to revisit kind of our working group intentions during this meeting too. I'll read the ones that we formed last year. Maybe we can add to those, and also maybe think about procedurally a little bit how we want the meetings to run, if there's any tweaks we want to make to that. Jennifer is going to walk us through some of the questions that we had when we did a brainstorming exercise around the 100% plan, and there were a couple programs that Duke offers that we had some questions around, so she's gone and done some digging and has some answers for those. And then we'll flow into setting the date for Warren Wilson. So again, that link to that doodle poll is in the chat, and if you haven't yet had a chance to fill that out, if you could do that before we get to that agenda item, then we will just pick a date, and then I can let them know that we're coming, because it's coming up in a couple weeks. And we can also promote that to the larger audience. We wanted to poll BHPCC members, but it's also something we can open up to our committees. All right, without further ado, I'd like to go around and let everyone say who they are. We have some new members that may not know everyone on the committee, and may not know all the staff either. So for everyone on the call, please do take a chance to say hello, introduce yourself, please share your pronouns. And I also want to acknowledge that we are on the occupied land of the Cherokee people to start the meeting off. So I'm Michelle Myers, I'm the chair. I've been on the community council. This is my 3.5 year, I think, because I started in September of 2021, I guess. This is my 2nd year as chair. And I use she, her pronouns. And we can just popcorn. So
Micah Kraus, and I am on the committee council. I'm a consultant and a coach in the sustainability sector, and this is I've been on the committee for about a year. So hi, everybody that's new.
Go ahead, Ed.
Hey, I'm Ed Maggart, and I'm one of the new guys. I got interested in joining after I was running an experiential pre-K through 8 school in St. Louis for about 6 years, and then moved back to Asheville, where I lived before then since 1980. got involved in Sierra Club again and found out about Blue Horizon and the 2040 200% goal and got really interested. So here I am.
Hey y'all, I'm Clary. I'm on the BHPCC, been on for a year. I work with a local solar company, Sugar Hollow Solar. I'm COO there. Before joining the solar movement, I did community organizing for some time. I use she, her pronouns as well.
And I'm Jim Culbert. I'm new to the council. Great to be joining. And I use he, him, and I have about 30 years doing environmental cleanup projects, and then about 10 years doing advocacy for carbon pricing. And I've really, over the last year and a half, 2 years, refocused my initiative on looking at why people don't follow through on their understanding of climate change and takes the actions it requires to lower our own emissions, which we can all do today with no new laws.
Keith Bamberg.
Go ahead, Keith.
Brad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm Brad Rouse. I am new on the council. I was actually on the original Energy Innovation Task Force back when the predecessor group, so this is a return for me. And I have, for those of you who don't know me, I have a career 20 plus years in utility industry planning and software solutions for utility companies, and then spent 15 years as a certified financial planner. And the last 11 years or so, I've been focusing back in the energy realm on ways that we can take action on climate change, including I got involved in Duke's Carbon Plan last year, and I'm involved in some activities right now with that. And I do a variety of other things that people know about. But that's me. Glad to be back on the council. I've been to most of these meetings.
I'm Keith Bamberger. I have been, this is my 4th year on the community council. I use he, him. I have been working with the Communications Committee and the Innovations Committee. My day job, I work for the Division of Air Quality, whom I don't represent here, but I've been working in clean energy and clean vehicles through that and in other ways for the better part of 20 years.
I'll go. I'm Jennifer Bennett. I'm with Duke Energy. I'm the Government Community Relations Manager here in Asheville and Buncombe County and the surrounding area. And I've been on the council just for a couple of months now, new to the area in June, and it's been a pleasure. Thanks.
And hey, I'm Parker Sloan. I'm one of your Buncombe County commissioners. Used to join these meetings a couple years ago, but haven't done that in a while. But for my day job, I work for a large utility scale solar and energy storage developer. I primarily do local government relations work and work with NIMBYism related problems in states across the country. Done that for about 7 years now. Yeah, looking forward to talking more about solving our local challenges as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Featherstone. I'm one of the new members, and I work for the Asheville-Buncombe Air Quality Agency, which is local regulatory program here in Buncombe County. I'm a Buncombe County employee per our interlocal agreement, and longtime member of Greenbelt Alliance, formerly the Western North Carolina Green Building Council, and work with Keith on clean air issues and county sustainability and others. So looking forward to learning more about the initiatives and getting involved and getting to know everybody. Thanks. And I use she, her pronouns.
Hey everybody, an earplug out. I'm Maggie. I'm looking very casual today. Take me as I am. I am one of your Asheville City Councilwomen, and I guess it's been about a year now since I've been on the commission. I also serve on I chair the city's Environment and Safety Committee, and then I also serve with Parker and a couple others on the county's Environmental Policy Committee. So those are kind of two ways I connect into the policymaking bodies as a connector into this group. So hey everybody, Happy New Year.
That might be Jamie, please.
That's all the council members. Did you want the other three of us to go? I'm Jamie Wine. I have 2 dogs at my house, and they're probably warmer than I am. I'm at the collider. My hands are cold. I am helping run Greenbelt Alliance in Sam's absence, so I'm kind of got my hands in everything. And we have a plan. I'm pretty excited about it. But mostly y'all know me from here, where I've been managing the Blue Horizons project administration stuff. So exciting times at Greenbelt. Things are moving forward.
Jump in, also looking casual today. I am Jackie Hampstead, she, her pronouns. I work for Buncombe County in the Sustainability Office, so I'm not a BHPCC member, but I help kind of manage our contract with you all. And Maggie mentioned the county's Environmental Stewardship Committee, and we have 2 vacancies on that, so I'm going to drop the application link in the chat and ask you all to share with your networks. Brad's already applied, but we have 2 vacancies. And so if you think of anyone who might be interested, please pass that along and encourage folks to maybe apply before January 17th, so in the next couple weeks.
I think I'm the last one. My name is Eva Davis, and I am the AmeriCorps Fellow serving on the County Manager's Office, but I also work with Jackie in the Sustainability Department in the county.
Wonderful. I am really excited about this class of members and the potential of this group. So thank you so much for being here. Welcome to all of the new members. We're going to run through a few things that we want to explain in a little more detail because we have new members. So first order of business, though, will be to approve the December meeting minutes. So all members present at that meeting are eligible to vote on this. So new members, got to sit this one out, but next time. And if we could review those, there's a link in the agenda, and I will accept a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
I second that.
Wonderful. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or friendly amendments? Great. Thank you very much. And a few other, this is something we have on the next item is called BHP Programs Written Staff Reports. And this is something we decided to do to save a little bit of time on this agenda. There's a lot of great work that staff are doing behind the scenes, and every month kind of it's, an update on how many Energy Savers Network houses have been installed, the status of our Neighbor to Neighbor program, which is a program we're offering free solar panels to low-income residents in Buncombe County. And there is now a standing report on there for Electrify. Jamie, is there anything I'm missing on that report that you just want to kind of highlight for folks?
I don't think so. We're looking to ramp up our Energy Savers Network houses this year with the support from Duke Energy Progress. And we're still doing home repairs for folks that need them for safety through the Helping Hands Fund, Helping Homes funds. And then Dogwood Health Trust has been helping us with that as well. But yeah, no, continuing onward.
Great. And I guess I should have said this at the top of the call. I do have a formal role as a consultant on the Electrify Asheville Buncombe campaign. So that's a disclosure I've made before, but I wanted to make that again. And I just wanted to point out from the staff report that there is an event at the Collider, not this Friday, but next Friday at 9 a.m. They do a little coffee climate chat. They do it frequently. But that Friday event will be kind of an overview of the coming campaign for Electrify Asheville Buncombe. So it will be pretty similar to, I think, the overview that we got as a committee a few months ago, maybe a little more developed than that. But if you happen to miss that and you wanted to jump in for coffee, Jamie will be here. I'll be here. It's cold, as he's warned you, but warm hearts. So come on to the Collider next Friday if you'd like. A few other small housekeeping items. I just wanted to run through how these meetings generally flow and how we get agenda items. So the leadership committee, so that's usually the chair, the vice chair is invited, but doesn't have to attend, but is welcome to attend. City and county sustainability staff, Jamie, we get together about a week before these meetings. You'll see I've put out a call for agenda items. We kind of just go through what's happening and what needs to be put on these agendas. And if you have any agenda items, that's when I send that email is when you should send the items back. If you try to get something on the agenda like the day before the meeting, we actually operate like a quasi-public body, like a board of commission of a city council. So we try to notice these meetings in advance, and that's part of the guidelines in our charter, is that we'll have posted this agenda in advance and allow the public an opportunity to participate in the meeting. This meeting is open to the public, and it's also recorded for the public. So that's just kind of how we set the agendas, and I welcome agenda items from all people, and would love to see if you know of anything interesting happening in the industry or have a guest speaker you'd like to invite, please let us know. We'll make space for it on the agenda. In addition to that, the way we usually run through the agenda is we go through, kind of the perfunctory stuff that we're doing now and just did, new business, old business, and then committee reports. Generally, committee reports only report out if they've met or if there's something they're aware of that the council should be aware of, like an upcoming opportunity to weigh in on, some strategic plan or, something that we should all have on our radar. Is there anything else we should share in housekeeping? Anything I'm missing, Jamie? Oh, you all new members should have received a welcome packet for Jamie. Let us know if for some reason you didn't see that email or weren't able to access the documents. That has a link to our Google Docs. It has contact information for your fellow council members. It has our charter, our bylaws, and importantly, 100% strategic plan that we developed last year, which is really our guiding document, our roadmap for the work we're trying to accomplish. Does anybody have any questions about any of those documents or process? Anything they want to add?
So, real fast, Michelle.
Sure.
Who was the author of the staff report document when I go to read these?
The written.
Me.
Okay. Thank you.
And I did just fill in the electrical section myself, but. Any other questions? Any problems accessing the Google Drive? The documents are also made available in PDF. So if for some reason Drive is not your best friend, we can also always send them out. All right, so I think I'd like to rearrange the next section under new business where we kind of set some goals for the year. And before we jump into goal setting, I want to think about how the meetings run just a little bit. And I think last meeting I noticed some people like to use the raise hand button, some people don't like to use the raise hand button. So just little technical things like that we can go over in this section. I went back and we kind of created some intentions of how we want to work together last year, and I'm just going to pop those in the chat and read them aloud also. And these are kind of intentions very much in the way, sorry, the formatting is messed up in the chat, but very much in the way that, we want to, they're kind of value statement visioning. But I also want to open up the table for like logistics, like how are we doing? Are these meetings too long? Are they too short? Are we, where do we need to tweak things so that we're running effectively? Particularly because these are wonky looking. I'm going to read them out loud, and then we'll decide if we want to make any amendments to these statements, and then we'll go into more logistics. So authenticity, being safe and vulnerable in the space, be on time and honor people's times, buy-in on decision making, assume good intentions, but also within that we need to acknowledge impact. So if you say something, someone's like, that just like really doesn't feel great to me, we know it's okay to say, that. And also we will have particularly next meeting is going to be a DEI training, and we can kind of go into if there's some sort of impact on communities in a power dynamic. We want to be aware of that as well. Accountability, say what you can do and then follow through. So if you're just like, I just couldn't get that meeting together this month, knowing that, but also, living up to when we can fulfill commitments. Giving teams autonomy to work as works for them. So particularly our working committees, I imagine there. 3 before me, try 3 means of answering a question. Does anybody remember this one specifically? I'm scrolling through to see if anybody's like, I put that on the list from last year. I'm not seeing any hands. I feel like I get it. It's something about asking a question and answering questions, but I actually don't know what that means. So I might just delete that one. Also welcome to friendly amendments. Be visionary but realistic, listening for meaning, and hear what others have to say. So those are kind of our operating agreements with one another. Does anybody have any thoughts about them? Does anyone want to take a stab at what 3 before me, try 3 means of answering a question means? Or should we just delete that? Is there anything not on this list that people would like to add?
I'll toss out in terms of how we want to work together. I might suggest including something along the lines of be very intentional about accomplishing both designing actions that really move us to the goal of 100% renewable by 2042, and the committee taking actions that help us move there, like the action component there. I like the accountability, say what you can do and then follow through, but specifically recognizing that as a group, we don't have a purse that we're spending, we have our time, and that part of this would be intentionally stating what it is that we're going to do to help move towards that goal.
I like it.
So Jim, I just put what I heard you say in the chat box just to catch the words. So
Yeah, mine's not refreshing quite yet.
Yeah,
I wrote be intentional and action oriented.
I think though Jim is saying to be action oriented and goal oriented is what I hear. So, or oriented on our goal. Because we can focus on process a whole lot, but we really need to focus on how does all of this focus on our goal, on the goal.
Sure. Keith, I don't see that in the chat. Maybe just didn't hit enter, but I did also try to record it, and I did put help move the 100% goal, be action oriented and focused on meaningful actions that help move the 100% goal. To be intentional and action oriented on the BHP goal. Okay, very good. We'll add that. I think we have. Is everyone okay with adding that? Thumbs up. Yeah. Great. And I see nods. Wonderful. Hey, Rocky, welcome. And Bridget, I see you as well. Would you guys mind introducing yourself, as we have many new members on the committee, the council today?
Maybe I can go first. I'm sorry, I'm working out of Camper Van this week, so went off video. But yeah, my name is Rocky. I go by Rocky, but my real name is Rakesh Sridhar. I have been with the committee for a year and a little bit now, and yeah, I come from an electric vehicle background. Yeah, nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. I'm Bridget Herring and I'm the Sustainability Director with the City of Asheville.
Hi, Bridget. Hi, Rocky. Thank you so much. Okay, anything else that we need to add to kind of our rules of engagement with one another? Okay, I don't see any hands up. I do have a question about people's preferences for indicating they like to speak. Do we want folks to raise their hand? Or the only trouble with that is sometimes I don't see all the hands because you all are not always on my window, like the Brady Bunch squares are not all present because there are many of us. So I'm going to say that we're going to try to ask to be acknowledged by the chair before we speak. Also, as a rule, I try to encourage people who have not yet had a chance to speak before I want to acknowledge someone who speaks a lot. And if you could just think about that when you're, why am I talking right now? Is there an opportunity to allow others to share their opinion? I would ask for that general courtesy. Yes, Brad?
On that, should we adopt if the chair is not noticing that somebody is raising their hand, but because I know it's hard, last time I've done a few meetings and it's just hard to do as a meeting chair. Do we want other people to say, just sort of interject that so-and-so needs to be listened to?
Sure, I would ask that people use the chat function. Or if you are speaking and you're like, I think Brad was after me, or I think Bridget, if you're talking, you'd be like, I see that someone has their hand raised. And if people don't get it, sure, come off mute. Absolutely. But, I think the idea is just mostly to make sure that it's a level playing field for extroverts and introverts to engage is the goal, if that makes sense. Okay, a couple other things. We do try to operate on a modified consent. This is all in the bylaws, so I suggest that folks take a look at that. It's something that we should make sure, particularly if we ever take votes that are controversial, or if there's like a bylaw change or something like that requires a certain, number of people to participate and vote. That's really the only time that that's come up. So yeah, I think it's like a 2/3 majority. But I actually should look at the bylaws before I say that. But we do aim for consent as much as possible, but it's not sometimes, there are groups that operate where they don't move forward until there's full consent, and that is not our operating procedure. All right, I think that's it for housekeeping. I guess for goal setting, and we're running a little bit short on time, but if anybody has any big picture goals they'd like to set forward. Hi, Ed.
Just a question about the majority thing. I've been on boards before where one of the follow-ups to that is if it's majority decides, then once that's decided, regardless of how we felt before, we're full in on what the decision is. Is that kind of the approach here?
It's not a simple majority. I think it's a 2/3.
Well, okay, 2/3, but once that's decided, the folks that voted no, are we kind of assuming that we're all saying this wasn't my first choice, but now that we decided by 2/3 majority, I'm all in?
So the consent model works a lot like you take a temperature check. You let people that feel uncomfortable with the initial proposal make an amendment. So you're really striving to get as close to consensus as possible. So that's the way to get closer to where we all feel like we could live with it. And then I think it is a 2/3 vote, and that would be the position of the council. So I guess, yes, the minority vote in that case would not necessarily have what they'd like, but they are able to make amendments, and hopefully that'll get people closer. Maggie?
Want to chime in. Appreciate you bringing that up, Ed. I think the spirit, I appreciate the clarity on the process, Michelle, and I appreciate the spirit of we're a team. We want to work together. We share the big goal. Sometimes it can be hard to figure out the how, but even if there might be discussion that's difficult to have at the end of the day, I still want to be on the team, and so I'm going to support that. And I think that's an important part of the sentiment you're bringing up that I really value.
And we have not very frequently taken positions on things that were like where we got into that level of opposition within a group that's pretty aligned on the same strategic vision. So it did happen once before, but not recently. Okay, so I do think we might need to, goal setting can take quite a while. So I wonder if anybody has anything they'd like to share around goals for the year. I think being very action oriented is extremely important. Are there any specific goals people would like to make sure they get out there in the public or get out there in the group before we move forward? I know in our committee reports, we're going to go into some of the goals that the committees have, so that's wonderful. Yeah, I think I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer, who's just going to run us through some of the questions that came up when we were workshopping how to move forward on the 100% strategic plan. Oh, thanks, Ed. Brad, do you have something you'd like to, can it wait, or do you need to voice something now? Okay.
I think you mentioned it, the committee goals. You know, and we may want to do some goal settings where we just throw some things out there, but one goal I'd like to see is to get an initiative champion identified for every initiative area at a minimum, not necessarily for every specific initiative that we have, so that there's somebody and there's somebody that is pushing for, you know, like for example, residential and commercial renewable energy or residential commercial energy efficiency. Those are two initiatives. Those are broad areas, but that somebody in this group or elsewhere is focusing in on an area and trying to sort of organize the community in those areas.
Sure. You know, I think what I'd like to do is run forward with the agenda, and any extra time we have, we're going to get into some more broader goal setting, because I have a lot as well that I'd like to bring up, but I hate to bring up big ideas and then shut down conversation. So I think we'll run the agenda and we'll come back to goal setting at the end if that works for everybody. But I do like the idea of finding a champion for each initiative that is tangible and important. Jennifer, can I turn it over to you? Is that all right?
Of course, yeah. I'm ready if you all are. And really, Michelle, you know, we had talked about this. I think it was our October meeting, if I have that right. There were some questions that were raised about tariff on bill program that at that point had really just been announced. I believe we announced it on October 3rd, and then we met maybe on the 4th. So I just gathered some of the conversational questions that arose during that meeting and took that back to our internal subject matter expert on that program. And I have some really high level response answers. And then if we want to dig in deeper to any of those topics, we can do that. I can take some additional questions, or we can just have conversation. So I'll run through them. I don't know if everybody had the opportunity. I believe, yes, all of the answers are in the agenda in case anybody wants to go back and reference it. But at high level, our tariff on bill program, which we'll be calling the Improve and Save program, is targeted to enable residential customers to pay for energy efficient upgrades through their Duke Energy bill. And it'll essentially incentivize customers to replace inefficient electric HVAC systems or water heaters. And so the questions that arose was, one, when will it launch? And the target for us is end of Q1, that program will become available. There was conversation about how the Inflation Reduction Act will influence or interact with the tariff on bill program. and if the customers could benefit from both at the same time. And so, of course, ultimately that's up to the State Energy Office Utilities Commission about how that is going to work. But it's our intent that households could benefit from both of those programs at the same time. Same question arose about tariff on bill and the customer assistance program, which I think everybody is likely familiar with. And it is in the intent for both of those to be able to be realized at the same time. So the interest rate on the customer payback was one of the questions. And it will be the approved rate of return for Duke Energy. Sorry, it'll be the approved rate of return that's used for customers that will participate in that tariff on bill. There are not requirements on credit checks for participation in the program, which we're hoping will encourage people and make it able for people to participate. And the restrictions about a customer's payments being in good standing the only restriction is that they have been customers for a year. And that's not based on bill standing. That's actually based on having a track record of being able to assess and evaluate their usage, so that we can have a good snapshot and picture of the efficiency of their home and the impact of those upgrades would bring to their system and the realization for them from a cost savings perspective. So, like I said, those are the questions that I took from our conversation. If I missed any, I apologize. But we didn't really have a Q&A session, but I think I covered them all. Were there questions that people had during that session or that have come up since then that I can either answer or obtain answer? And Michelle and Jamie, like we talked, if we want to do a deeper dive into this program, we're happy to, but I think at that point it would be worth having someone come and speak to us kind of on the real intricacies of the program.
Sorry, Jennifer, real quick. First of all, good to meet you over Zoom.
Nice to meet you too.
But you mentioned at the beginning, is it available to commercial customers or no?
Residential customers.
Only residential customers. Okay.
And I know you're aware, but there are a slew of programs that are available to commercial customers, but they fall into different categories in a different group. So if anybody has questions about those, feel free to ping me and we can talk through those. I can get you to the right person.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, Brad. Oh, Brad, you're on mute though.
On the, I guess first of all, is it correct? Is it, just for, I think I remember reading somewhere that Duke's approved rate of return is 9.3%. So is that the rate? I mean, I know that'll change from time to time, but it seems like, is that the range we're talking about?
That sounds in the ballpark, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess a real question would come up was, people probably can, well, some people might be able to get home equity line of credit that is lower than that. So just depending on, people who can, this will be for people who can't get that probably, if they're still looking at financing. Number two, you mentioned the IRA incentives, but the IRA incentives, and I'm not sure from your answer what, when you said the SEO will get involved, there's an issue of coordination of this with like low income IRA benefits, and that I know would be through the SEO. But what about the middle and upper income tax benefits of the IRA? That, I mean, I would suppose, you do an upgrade, it costs $10,000, you finance 5, 7, or 10 maybe of that through your bill, and then do you get to file that as a tax credit? That would be, I guess I'm not, maybe we'll just have to wait and see how that works. That's just a question I had. But those are my two questions about it.
Yeah, and I think there's still some of that to still be seen, Brad, and in talking to our program team and the leader of this is how those So how the IRA, how they work together both from a programmatic standpoint and then a use standpoint. So are there synergies in the execution of those programs, or are they independent? But I think there's more to come.
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah, just a point of clarity. Sorry, you may have covered this earlier in the call that I wasn't on. You'd mentioned this was for upgrading electric HVAC systems. Was this also apply to converting from natural gas to electric?
That is a great question. To my understanding, it is on the installation of the system. I can get clarity on it, Jim, just to make sure I'm answering it correctly. Okay. Oh, Michelle, I think you're on mute.
Thank you so much for finding the answers to these questions, and it will be interesting to know if, I assume it would be for electrification as well as for natural gas, but if you could get clarity on that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would assume too. We'll verify and make sure.
Trust the verify, right? Thank you so much. Great. We just made it back a little bit of time for goal setting. Thanks. All right, it is the time to set a date to go to Warren Wilson College to see their agrivoltaics. They also have an electric tractor, and they are installing a battery system. They have golf carts that have solar panels on them, guys. They're like net zero to the max, or that's their goal. And also a goal to create a really a model that other agriculture, other farms can emulate. Has anybody who wants to take the poll, who's interested in participating, has everyone had a chance to do that? I can pop it in the chat one more time. Here you go. If you haven't taken the doodle poll yet, speak now or forever hold your preference on date. I'll give folks one more second there. No, the time that's rising to the top is not near the lunch hour. So I'm guessing I don't need to get a head count on lunch, which apparently is lovely. I don't know. Apparently lunch at Warren Wilson College isn't a nice thing to do, but we were invited.
Yeah, we should build that in.
It is an invitation, but you would have to vote on your availability closer to the lunch hour to break the tie, Parker Sloan. Because right now 3 or 4 p.m. on I think the 26th is looking like the winner. The other item under old business is the DEI training that we're going to do at City Hall instead of having next month's meeting. This is something we've wanted to do for a while. Aisha Adams is going to be our trainer. She's pretty well known in the community. I think she has a show called Asheville View on a web. I think it's a YouTube show. Jamie, do we have any pre-reading or anything, any materials she wanted to circulate in advance of that?
We do not. She said no.
Okay, great. I was wondering if it's possible to have the session recorded in the room we're in at City Hall.
I don't know. I would have to check with our tech people to see if we have that capability and that would be the equipment would be available.
Okay.
Unless you just want to do it from a laptop.
Yeah, we could try to do it from a laptop. I have a feeling we could get audio for sure, but maybe not video. That's totally fine. I know there's a couple people who can't make it because they'll be out of town, and I just wanted the opportunity, particularly for members, to be able to see what was discussed. I'm hoping that after this training, we can set some goals around DEI and inclusion, which is why I think it's important that folks kind of know and we have the same language and operating principles there. So there certainly will be notes because Jamie has a robot take them, so there will be notes for sure. So, if you can't make it, please do review the notes. And I really hope that we've been announcing this for, I feel like half a year. So please, if you don't have it on your calendar, please try to be there face to face. I think this is an important one. Jamie, do you have anything you want to add about that?
It's at City Hall and it's in person, so don't forget to plan for travel time.
And it's in City Hall, and there are metal detectors. So we also give yourself a little bit of time to get in the building and then up to the room.
And then we worked with our equity task force last year. We reached out to Anthony Lynch about being like kind of the chair of that, and he and I are just negotiating about that now. It sounds like a yes, but I'll have more at the next meeting, possibly in the February meeting. So exciting.
So just for our new members, so this would be a equity task force of the council, right? So forming a committee that would be specifically looking at equity and inclusion. Wonderful. All right, we're going to move on to committee reports, and we are ahead of schedule miraculously, so we will have some time for goal setting if we move through those. But I know, we didn't set the date. So I think everyone has now participated that's going to participate, and it looks like Friday, January 26th at 3 p.m. is our time to go there. So I'll follow up with the administrator there, and I'll get the exact location, maybe where to park and stuff like that. I don't have that information right now, but they'll look for a follow-up email with more details about how to get on campus and where to meet up. And now, without further ado, we'll move on to committee reports. I know, let's see, I don't know what the agenda again. Be fair and go in order here. Oh, there. Community engagement is first up on the reports. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim.
Yeah, and I'm going to present for Seth and Ed today. So in the community engagement subcommittee didn't meet in December because our meeting would have been between Christmas and New Year's, and it wasn't convenient. Ed Mayert and I offered to co-chair the subcommittee when Seth accepted the vice chair for the community council. And Ed and I have been meeting face to face. We also had a nice meeting with Jamie and have been creating our processes and talking through how we're going to move forward. In the January subcommittee meeting, which is the fourth Wednesday of January, the first item on the agenda is going to be this leadership transition so that the committee can choose their path forward. Ed and I are kind of moving forward with a good faith effort to say, hey, we want to be ready and make sure the January meeting happens. And we'll put that in front of the committee for a vote. Ed and I are really focused on 3 goals that Seth reviewed and that were in the agenda for the community engagement subcommittee. Basically, supporting the Blue Horizons project for number 1, business engagement for number 2, and individual engaging with people in Buncombe, Asheville for number 3. Within that structure, I've offered to lead an individual engagement effort, and there's a synopsis of a work plan that's circulating. It's in draft form. It's not been in front of the subcommittee yet. This is for reaching individuals in Buncombe and Asheville, and I really appreciate the comments that I've received back on it. It was emailed to each of the members on the committee about a week ago. We will be discussing this plan at our 4th Wednesday of January meeting in the subcommittee, and I encourage anyone that's, a lot of you are members of the subcommittee, but if you're interested, please come to the subcommittee meeting 3:30 on January 24th. All the information is on the Greenbelt Alliance calendar if you ever forget and think, oh, I want to go to it. In addition, Ed is offering to lead the Engaging Business Community initiative, and Micah Kraus is already actively looking at the brewery industry and kind of grabbing onto that piece. So we have some movement there, as well as some manpower that's willing to step up and say, I'll take a bite at this apple during 2024. Returning to the individual outreach plan that circulated, there are 4 different roles I want to just run through with people that were in the plan, but I really want to point out and specifically ask for your help on a couple of them. One of those is the neighborhood leads. And I would ask each of you to open the spreadsheet for the BHP Neighborhood Champion. There's almost 100 neighborhoods we've identified in Buncombe County and Asheville, and find your neighborhood and put your name there. We're looking for people that could just help us get access to the people in that neighborhood, potentially host an event, create program content around reaching out to people at the neighborhood where they live, focused on like the age of the houses that they're with, and a little bit more of a custom talking to your neighbor about it. And second one is champions for nonprofits and other member-based organizations where we may be able to reach out to people in the community through those other nonprofits with shared or similar interests. And there's a list started in a second spreadsheet for NGO champions. And you can both add organizations by adding rows. You can also put your name in both of these. There's a yellow highlighted column for a BHP lead. If you're a member of an organization that you think we might be able to touch, please do put your name in there so we're at least aware that you are a member of it. And as we start trying to reach out to these organizations, we know what links we already have and can expand our network. The other 2 roles we have as a speaker for people that enjoy public speaking or are willing to speak in public. As we start engaging with more members of the community, we would love to have people interested in presenting to the community sign up, and we can get a team or a bureau of speakers that are reaching out, and we can talk through and train and provide content for that. And the 4th area is profiles and integrity. One of the pieces when you read the literature on what actually gets people to take pro-environmental behavior is understanding both social norms and envisioning it themselves. And it's a goal to try and create a series of profiles around people that have already electrified their transportation, their heating, or their hot water. It's an or statement, and an and statement if you want to do that. So we are looking for people that have taken those actions that are willing to be profiled. But returning to for today, I ask that you open the 2 spreadsheets for the neighborhood lead and the organizations lead that are both in the meeting notes, the agenda set out, the email that Jamie sent out, and put your name in your neighborhood and look at the organizations that are on there and put your name by the organizations where you might be able to help us find contacts into and engage with that organization. And I'll close by encouraging anyone interested to attend the next community engagement subcommittee meeting on the 4th Wednesday in January. We're always the 4th Wednesdays. And I am always interested in getting a cup of coffee at a location you're choosing or finding another way to talk through the draft plan that we will be discussing on the 4th Wednesday for individual outreach.
Thank you so much, Jim. The plan is very comprehensive and very heavy hitting, and I hope everybody gets a chance to weigh in. Thank you for your hard work.
Thanks.
I second that. It's very well organized. We have goals to make the whole committee as well organized. And I did put the links to the neighborhood list and the organization list in the chat. I'd be very curious to see where we have folks and where we need folks. So if you feel comfortable sharing your neighborhood, that would be great. I know as we talk about rolling out the Electrify campaign, strategies that are neighborhood based might be really, really potent there. So please take a minute and fill in where you live. If you don't want to be the neighborhood champion there, but you live there, you can identify someone else to be the neighborhood champion because you live there and you can task your neighbors.
I did just, Michelle, you remind me that you and I have talked, and I've talked to Sophie, and that we will be talking more. This intertwines so closely with the Electrify Asheville. Our goals are the same, and they really need to be one initiative, and that we are coordinating, and this is not just independent of the Electrify Asheville Buncombe.
Absolutely. All right. Next up is the Initiatives Task Force.
Yeah, we met in the middle of the month, the 18th, and we're meeting the third Monday of the month or something like that, or second Monday of the month, but I need to check my calendar. We'll have one coming up towards the middle of the month. And we talked about a couple of things in our meeting. We did discuss the NREL community to community technical assistance opportunity. And Keith had thankfully gone through the various steps. And I see, Keith, you have your hand up, or no, is that your hand, Keith? No, that's my marker. So no, just jump in whenever you want to jump in. The grant opportunity that Michelle had asked us to look at, and we didn't really come to a tremendous consensus, although we recognized that grant opportunity, which is, for people who don't know, it's an opportunity that we have been asked to look at that provides technical assistance for communities that are trying to move their energy planning process along in some way. And there are a lot of questions that go towards the degree of equity improvement that you have with your initiative. We are continuing to look at it. One question that we came up with was possibly to do something with our low income area, because that was actually the second topic of the discussion of the day. And that was one area, and the other area was just the general support of technical support for what we're doing as a whole. We seem to be further along than, we would be coming into that process asking for technical assistance, not on how to develop a plan for the community or to get the community talking about it, but really how to move ourselves along. And early on with the EITF, we had Rocky Mountain Institute help with some technical assistance. And that would be also an opportunity, but we're still working on it. I don't think we have really, Jamie and Keith and I have really talked about it, but I don't know if you guys want to weigh in on that opportunity before we move to the second topic of our meeting. Okay, well, the second topic of our meeting was really our low income initiative, which is, we try in our initiatives committee meetings, we try to have one area or one initiative to focus on for that meeting. And this particular one, Jamie told us some about what Energy Savers Network and other activities are up to. And I think the real focus of our low income initiative area right now is to make sure that Energy Savers and Greenbelt Alliance can continue to get the funding up, where we had some shortfalls in the funding earlier last year. And then how the second area is, how can we make sure that the full, we sort of identified in the first step that a major source of funding can be from Duke Energy, and the program that has been announced from Duke Energy and how we get that funding. There are significant levels of funding in that program available for tier 2, what's called a tier 2 and weatherization upgrades for clients, which really is a substantial amount of money for a low income program. The Duke programs could allow up to $11,500, I think is the number, of funding for low income clients. But none of the measures that they support above the basic services that Energy Savers provides. These are things like weatherization, like insulation or heat pump water heater or a new refrigerator. None of those programs in and of themselves pay for the upgrade by itself. So we have to have more funding than to be able to utilize the Duke funding. We have to have funding source from somewhere else. And we do not know where that comes from. And so that is, they're supposedly funding through the IRA, but I think, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, I think that requires the State Energy Office to be involved. And we're not sure how to get that yet. So that's one of the challenges that we have really in achieving a major expansion of our low income work. We didn't talk too much about the neighbor to neighbor solar in the meeting, but that's one aspect of our low income work. And the other aspect is the ongoing weatherization assistance program, Community Action Opportunities, which is, you know, a major challenge I think we have really in achieving that initiative or that effort to get more of these clients to be eligible for that major amount of funding from Duke is the cooperation with the Community Action Opportunities, because those are the ones that are sort of in the receiving line of the state energy office money. So that's kind of what we're talking about, and we probably need some help. I'm not sure whether it's this technical assistance grant or what it is where we get that help. Some of it may be some ongoing conversations that we're having with Community Action Opportunities on how to actually make this whole program come together in a way where, you know, instead of looking at 250 clients a year, which is I think our goal now, 240, and doing about $600 or $800 worth of work at that client site, really taking a subset of those people who are the high energy users and being able to provide them with $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 worth of energy upgrades by matching these sources of funding. I think that's an opportunity that we have to really make a difference for those high energy using clients. So
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brad. I appreciate it. So like you don't have any action items for us today, so we'll stay tuned. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Transportation Committee, I don't have anything on here. I'm guessing did not meet. It's okay.
Did not.
I'm a strong believer in meeting when you need to meet, not meeting when you do not need to meet. Policy Task Force did not meet. Are there any other announcements before we move on to some goal setting?
I just want to make everybody aware. I sent out a email about some meetings that the state is holding on how to distribute some of the IRA money and climate change reduction acts. There's one on, I think, Thursday. There's one next Tuesday, I think. I sent it to y'all in the emails. If you didn't get it, let me know. I'm not sure if I've got all the new members on my email list. But look for that.
Thank you, Keith. All right. Oh, Jennifer.
It's me. I have a clarification on our question earlier about gas conversion, if it's okay if we go ahead and talk about it before we move on. So Tariff on Bill would not cover conversion because it would be funding of conversion. So that's a regulatory thing for us. A utility can't fund a conversion of fuel, if that makes sense. Michelle, you look like you have a question.
I was asking myself if it makes sense. I hear you. I understand you. I'm not sure it makes sense, but I hear you.
It is a regulatory requirement. So that's the answer to the question. I just didn't want us to leave the meeting without clarification.
No, that was important clarification. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. I wish we were doing this with like a big whiteboard and I could write things down, like put sticky notes on it. That's what I think though. I know we're taking notes through the chat, but to workshop goals, I think we should maybe go around the room and everybody maybe say one. And then maybe we can you know, if we have enough time, go around and be like, oh, I really want to like make sure that like elevate that to a high priority. So basically if we were together, we put stars next to the ones we like, and then those would become the highest priority goals for the year. We could do that in a Google Doc, but I know those are challenging for folks. Let me think how to do this real quick. I'm going to write it in the agenda doc. If anybody is in there, you can use it under the new business section. What would you like to see us accomplish in 2024? And then I'll just, I'll ask people to vote at the end. Maybe I'll just like vote, write down who wants to put a star somewhere. And if anybody's in the doc, you can do it yourself. Does anybody have one? I know we've already heard from Brad about getting a champion for each initiative. Does anybody have another one, like a burning one that they were like, I wanted to mention this earlier? And if not, I'm going to still pick you to say something. So we're going to go around and everyone's going to say one thing. It's Parker.
Can you point me real fast to the list of the initiatives? Is this from the larger group's report?
This is from the 100% plan.
Right. Okay.
And then there is probably a spreadsheet of initiatives that I'm going to ask Brad if he has, like, he's been in those docs very intensely. So I'm going to ask if he has that, if he could put it in the chat.
The link to, there's a chart of the current spreadsheet. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, if you could put that link to that in the chat.
I'll see if I can find it. I was going to just.
We're going to go around we're going to give everybody a chance to talk, and then we're going to come back. Is that okay? Sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. Do you want to go first?
I'll go.
Okay, Ed.
So this is relating back to the report that Jim did. There were 3 areas that Seth and the rest of the committee had come up with for 2024. And I told, when Jim and I talked, that I would kind of take the lead on the corporate strategy. I'd love to get a blueprint for what that looks like for a corporation. That, of course, could change from business to business, but when we go in to talk to someone, instead of starting from scratch and just showing them different possibilities, here's what has been done successfully at a particular corporation, and use that as a blueprint to try and move forward and get other people on board. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Mikey yet, but I'm hoping her work with the Brewers Association could be one such blueprint that we could offer to other corporate strategies. So that was kind of, I don't know how to make that into one sentence. I guess a blueprint for corporate partners to consider.
Got it. Thank you. Anybody else have they'd like to offer? Jim.
Yes, it's very non-quantitative, but I actually have 2. Is that all right?
I guess so.
Okay. The first one is to have people in Asheville-Buncombe County acting to electrify their energy use. Yeah. It's very non-quantifiable. I don't know how the issue is in measurement. So the second one I have is the ability to measure actual metrics around how we heat, around HVAC, hot water heating, and EV purchases or ownership in Buncombe County. That I don't know how you do it, but like all of a number of talks, number of emails, all means really behavior, not just encourage people to get on an email list.
I think I rolled that into one, so you can see if I did it right.
Okay.
But it's encouraging people to electrify and then developing measurable results of that. So
perfect.
All right. I'm just scrolling through all the faces to see if anybody has their hand up, and then I'm going to start calling on people.
I can go. But because Brad threw out the tactic, right, of the champion, which I agree with. It's not really a goal, but it's a good tactic. I think that it would be really beneficial if we were able to cull the strategic plan down to a slide deck and like a 2-pager. So like marketing materials that would make it really easy for us to use with corporate and with individuals. So basically, you know, one slide deck, one tailored to individuals, one to corporate, and that would just really help, you know, for the blueprint you're looking for, Ed. You know, I think we could customize that per business, but I think that if we could tackle that in the first quarter or first half of the year, it would be really beneficial.
In first quarter, I like it. Time bound. I love goals that are time bound. Thank you. Keith.
So, this actually connects back to what Jim said, but I'd really like to see some kind of like the 2-page thing we had on the Energy Reduction Act and things people could do at home, document that I think that Summer created, to have more of those just as tools to show people what the potential is. And, you know, that when we're talking to people, whether we're at a Blue Horizon event or someplace else, you know, we could base our elevator speeches on that. So a tool to help there. And another thing, and this goes back to the champions and initiatives, kind of create a stronger, more robust database of these champions and projects. So we have a way to figure out who these people are doing the work and how to make connections. So it's kind of two things that make sense to me. So I'm not going to put a timeline on them.
Okay, thank you. I think I've captured them. You can look at the notes if you want to make sure I captured it correctly. Does anybody who hasn't gone yet have something to offer as a goal? I have one that Jamie sort of addressed, and I think I'm really excited to see how this unfolds. But you know, Ken Nelson had a really valid point at our last meeting. We were placing new members, and we hadn't really been able. We tried, but we hadn't really been able to do recruitment in such a way that we were attracting candidates from a diverse pool, really. So I want to have a very intentional DEI strategy that helps us to really lay a foundation so that we're not just thinking about that in the time we're trying to fill boards and commissions, but we're really actually building relationship and community. So that's something I think this training should be kicking off something there, not just a one and done kind of thing. So I would say carry the DEI training into an action plan.
Yeah, got 3 hands up. Yeah, Maggie, Brad, Keith, and it looks like maybe Parker. That's a real hand.
Well, thank you, Maggie. We'll go in that order. Maggie. Did we lose her? Oh, no.
You're on mute.
Muted.
Blasted. Sorry. One is, Brad, could you update the permissions on the link you shared? It's not, I can't get access to it. I don't know if others are experiencing that as well. The other is, unsurprisingly, my interests, or one of my interests, is around the local policy side of things. And some of the policy work was really looking at kind of development regulations and development incentives, and where are there places that when things are getting built, our local governments are providing market competitive incentives. Because I know I'll speak for the city alone. It's been a while since we've looked at those. And so that type of activity would be really, really meaningful. And that would kind of be, I guess, like a research action to kind of look at what's there, look at other cities, understand from the actual installers or businesses, like what's an actual incentive. Because if we're going to give you $50 to install solar, that's not going to do anything. You know what I mean? So that type of like research activity could be a really good community group activity and would be really valuable.
Maggie, do you think that's something we should include in the NREL grant, or you think it should be a community finding?
I guess I need to be reminded the details of the NREL grant.
It's just technical assistance, so I think a research project would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think the how I have less. I mean, if that lifts up as a priority of others, then I could get into the how, but just want to kind of add the that type of insight from the community coming towards us at the government saying, hey, this incentive you have on the books is actually great. Thank you. Keep it up. And this one could be changed this way. That type of policy advice, I think, could be really useful. And it would be really nice as an elected to be in community with others to kind of advocate for those type of changes.
Nice. Thank you. I forgot the order, Jamie. Who was Parker? Right, Parker, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I mean, three things come to mind personally. I don't know if they're in any way relevant as goals for this group or not, but I'll list them quickly. First of all, I want to get Buncombe County in the EV charging installation business, and I'm interested in folks' thoughts and examples from other local governments that we can copy, whether it's level 2 charging, whether it's commercial or residential, that type of guidance and ideas. I'm interested in hearing from folks. The second thing is I'd like to work towards dramatically scaling up commercial rooftop solar. I think that's a big underutilized resource. Same thing, interested in ideas and examples from other places. And the third thing I've been working on for a couple of years, talking to Duke Energy and Block Power and the Loan Programs Office about virtual power plants. And I'd love to see Buncombe County participate in Duke Energy's first virtual power plant. So that's something that I'm interested in your ideas and thoughts around. Whether those could or should be or possibly be goals of this group or not, I don't know, but those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Then it's Keith and then Brad, yeah.
Let's see, Claire, you have anything you want to add to the list?
I mean, I've been on for a year and I think I've sat in on a lot of meetings and I haven't figured out how to plug in personally. So I'm still trying to figure out how to match the 100% plan with like what I can do. So I'm excited by these ideas and trying to figure out how to support. So it's things like coming out of the community engagement committee those feel really clear and easy.
Thank you for reminding us that, we need to be mindful of how specific we can get and how we can create spaces for everybody. So I think that's important to have, because I think that's also part of the DEI conversation, actually. So I'm going to say council members / I'm just going to say community members, because it's really not just you, it's everybody. Okay, round two, Brad.
Yeah, I wanted to basically clarify the first goal that I put out, which was the initiatives and having a champion for every initiatives. My goal is a little bit more limited, which was to have a chair for each initiative topic area.
Oh.
So that's a little bit different, and somebody might not want to champion a specific initiative, but the general topic area. Parker, you mentioned one, which is commercial and residential renewable energy in general is a topic area. If you have somebody champion that, they step forward, they're going to run that effort. They might have meetings or whatever, but they're running that. The particular initiative that I think, for me, I'd like us most to do is the one I was discussing earlier, which is, and I think this fits in with the DEI, because honestly, what we're doing well for diversity, equity, and inclusion is Energy Savers Network. And Energy Savers Network needs to be able to crack the nut on how to finance and go after a comprehensive set of upgrades and do it. How do we do that and get that solved in this year? And I'd like that to be a goal.
So you want low income financing. We need to find low income financing tools.
Well, it's not necessarily a financing tool. It may be, how do we just tackle the bureaucratic maze of grabbing the IRA money and combining it with the Duke money?
Okay.
Duke has an unlimited amount of money for low income, but no piece of it is enough to do any of these upgrades in and of itself. So and Duke's program actually states that there's no customer participation allowed. So you cannot use the financing vehicle as the source of funding, unless we can get that unhooked, unjammed. And that would just be talking with Jennifer, and that'd be one avenue, is to get that sort of restriction that's in their requirements lifted, so that we could combine it with you could say, well, Duke will give $6,000. We'll combine it with some customer financing.
Thank you. I think I'm recording all of these, and I haven't found one yet that I don't think is a high priority, but does anybody have anything else they'd like to add to the list? And then I think we should try to, prioritize these in some way in the next 5 or 6 minutes and just see if any rise to the top of the list for this year. I see that there are a lot of people in the document. Can you raise your hands if you are not able to access the agenda right now? Ed and Keith, you're not in the agenda? Or you want to add something? I guess I asked 2 questions without taking.
I would like to add something. I could just type it into the agenda if you'd like.
Say it out loud, or yeah, either way.
So I do think anything we would do to get Project Aspire and other new housing in particular, but building complexes to be built to a better energy efficiency standard would be really valuable, because these buildings are going to be there for 100 years. And if they build crappy energy houses, then they'll be there for 100 years.
Thank you. Okay. Ed?
This isn't a goal, and we don't have time to talk about it today, but I'd like to toss this out. I see the megawatt dashboard on the agenda, which is great. We've got so many initiative categories and initiatives. It seems like we're all over the place. Can we develop some kind of KPI dashboard for at least for the goals we have for this year, if not for the broader initiatives? So if I'm not specifically working on Energy Saver Network or whatever it is, I've got some idea, and it's also something that we can show people.
So when you say KPI, do you want to look at a performance metric for at the end of the year, or you want like a projected performance metric? Like, do you want to do it in advance? Are you looking at something at the end of the year where we can say this netted this much actual?
I would say, this is our goal for, maybe it's 3 columns. Here's where we need to be. Here's where we hope to be at the end of 2024. And, where are we on both of those? And again, we've only got 5 minutes. There's so much going on.
It is a goal, if you don't mind. I think it is a goal of having measurable metrics of, and you're talking about actual like kilowatt hour measurements.
Well, or dollars raised, or the number of folks that aren't middle class white folks that are involved with us. Whatever it is we're trying to do, that we have a KPI of seeing where we're trying to get to and where we are. And it may be just for the goals for this year. Ideally, it'd be for everything, but that may be a little overwhelming.
I'm going to say goal of reporting measurable standards and metrics. Does that get you close to what you're saying? You want the word KPI in there? I'll add the word KPI. I'll add the word KPI.
Whatever.
Okay.
If you like acronyms, sure.
Okay. Great. All right. And everybody who's in the document, if you could, I'm going to see if I can take your little asterisks. So, and just put it next to the ones everyone gets 3 votes. And put your asterisks next to 3 ones that you're just like, it's not that we're not going to do the others, it's that we have to focus somewhere first. So, just if you can, and if you are not able to do that, I'm going to number these and you can put your 3 highest priority numbers in the chat.
Michelle, can you share your screen for those of us who can't see?
Yes, yes. I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
And tell us where the document is again.
It's the agenda for today.
Oh. Yeah.
Who's doing that? Meg, what are you doing?
I just put a link to the document in the chat.
Oh, Maggie just messed up my phone. All right.
You wanted 7? Got it.
Got it. We have two. Okay, thank you.
Gonna help it. Sorry, I get type A real
No,
quick.
I love it. Just, it's good. Good. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And Jamie, can you help to record these votes for me?
Yep.
Thank you.
How do we put our votes in?
You can put stars in the agenda. You can put numbers in the chat. Jim?
Yeah, did you want to capture? Brad had a note saying, actually, I have another goal, which is to identify sustainable funding for the BHPCC staff support, which I think is a legitimate goal.
Okay. No. Did I just miss something? Okay, I'm trying to add that as a 15th goal. ID sustainable funding. Got it. So now this is a little bit longer. Everybody's.
So I am confused about how we actually do this when we're in there to editing this.
Brad, just pick your top 3 favorites and put number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 7, number 11, and number 12 in the chat, and we'll record it for you.
Oh, okay, in the chat. Okay.
There's 2 ways, and that's probably, if you're having a hard time editing, that might be the best way. And there's a lot of people who are not just voting, but doing stuff. So that might be the best way for everybody. I'm going to suggest that people are trying to read the document. So I appreciate edits, but also people are trying to read the document. And we're at the top, we're about at time, but I can stay on for a few more minutes. I want to give people a chance to vote. And in terms of process, I'm going to look at this. We do have the DEI training next week or next month, but we will come back to these. So I promise to bring these back up probably in March. And also I might be following up with people about how to make these actionable before then.
Right.
But stay on and vote. And if you have to hop, Happy New Year. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in person in February.
Happy New Year, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
There are a few more on the second page, so I'm just going to scroll down for those of you looking at my screen. And Project Aspire is that big development downtown by like the Y property and the Presbyterian Church. I think I got that right. And the hotel that's there.
So I've got Rocky, Brad, Ashley, Parker, and Ed's vote in the chat. Are other folks voting in the document?
I'm going to vote into the chat. I'm just still thinking. All right, I want to vote for more than. There are 2 6s now.
I'm sorry. People were doing the editing while we were. I'm gonna do 6A. 6B. Oh my God. What a rigged system. Okay. 6A. Micah.
Have a good night. Bye, y'all.
Does anybody want me to adjust my screen at all?
I gotta run. Good night. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, I think that's everybody. Everybody's vote I got in the chat or in a comment in the document.
Yeah, I just put mine into the chat just now, and I chose 4 or 5.
Keith, gotcha. All right.
Well, I combined 7 and 13 because I think they're really similar.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. Did you write that in the chat?
I just put 7
7,
slash 13. I mean,
okay, that's good. That's fine. We'll remember what that means. Don't worry.
right. Plus, you know where I live.
Combining is great. Combining is great. Yeah, I think Project Aspire could be the model.
It could be, but we're going to need to help them become the model.
Yeah, we will aspire to aspire.
All right, thanks. I hope you all had good holidays.
Happy New Year. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, I'm going to try to come by on the 12th just because I'd rather be there than in my office.
Okay. It'll be mostly them, but I'll be there too. Michelle, you're coming, yeah?
I'm coming, and we're gonna. I think we're gonna put it out in your newsletter. Is that okay, Jamie?
That sounds great.
So there might be more people than usual.
Hooray.
But every time I've gone to the Collider, it's always been good.
Cool.